What's up, gang? Today we're going to be exploring the world of Erontonia. Erontonia is a world that former YouTuber Comrades made, but he quit and passed it on to me and the official LMG to work with. Now, I made a new revamped map. Today we're going to be exploring 4 maps here. So first we're going to start with political map, of course. So, I'm going to show all the new landforms that I made. So, I'm going to be circling all of the new things that I have made. So this is all of the new things that I made. So as you can see, they're mostly archipelagos. The name also of this continent before is called Antares, but I decided to change it to Anaris just to make it more original. Now, let's get into the political part. So there are 4 continents here, and also 5 oceans. The oceans are the Occidental Ocean, Albanta Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and I didn't label it, but the Southern Ocean and the Northern Ocean. The continents: Bloodskris, Anaris, Lanaris, Suploris. 3 of them end in S. Now, uh, Suploris is the new continent that I added here. So I decided to add more land area to the world, so that's why. Now we're going to be exploring the countries that are labeled already. The red is Farron, blue is Abrascalia. These two are currently in a arms race as of 1936 when the map was dated. So I'm going to be explaining the blocks. Of course, the darkest of their colors is the head nations. This shade and this shade is like closely aligned, and the light shade is they're only like politically aligned. They're not that close. So these two are in an arms race, right? Aproscadia wants political sphere of influence over the Albanta and Occidental oceans, but Farron, like, naturally has control of this due to them having a very large navy in the world, and also much of their coastline is in the Albanta Ocean. So, and Aproscadia wants to challenge that. I will name their allies right now. This here is called Isaperon, labeled with an I. This one is Morajan. And then down south we got Sosev, which is a mountainous country. Now, over here we got Austria. Austria is the main naval power in the Pacific Ocean, but has naval presence in the Atlantic Ocean due to their colonies here. They have an autonomous state called Ireos, which is important later on. They're more aligned with the nations here than Austria. Now, another nation here is Haxenpol. This nation has probably the most richest history out of all of the Erontonian nations, and they're allies of Austria. To the nation south, we got a Faroese aligned nation, Ornis. This nation have a similar culture to Ereos, and they are rivals with Haxenpol. Over here, we got the central countries. These countries are oil-rich countries, and they were devastated in the 1910s, but throughout the 1920s and 30s, they redeveloped, they reconstruct themselves, and now they are prosperous. Here, it's just Faroese and Upper Scandinavian colonies. Now, if we move west, we got the Pyrenees Empire. Now, this nation is the most powerful nation in Anaris that is not an Erontonian nation. They have spheres of influence here, here, and here, making a sort of Holy Roman Empire type of thing. The nations, these include the city-states here, and also the nations of Morek and Vidraulia. To the south, we got Kashipe. This nation is a ally of Farron, and this allows Farron to have power projection in the Occidental Ocean, and it was invaded by Haxenpol later in the lore. This is all Oran, Haxenpol, and Austridi. This is also here Faroese. To the south here, we got the nation of Kapayan. This nation is inspired by the Filipino word Kapayapan, and it means peaceful, because Kapayan was the main power in the region, and since they were so powerful and so isolated from the rest of Anaris that they mostly had peace in the region. up until recently when the Australians conquered their land, and also the Faroese. They also have a local name called Bernia, inspired from the two words Berbania and Bayani. Bayani means hero, and Verbania's fictional nation in the Filipino book Ibong Darno. Now we're gonna move on to Lanaris. Now, Lanaris is special because it was created by the other owner of Erontonia, the official LMG. So you will see a lot of references to him, including the continent name and the prime country here, the Lanimorgan Empire. The Lanimorgan Empire is an Austro-Hungarian type of nation, having the two kingdoms of Lania and Morgania. They also have a colony here, which is owned by Lania. Here it's just another bunch of city-states. Then we got the two nations of Bacon and Yurkon. These two nations are aligned with this treaty, and they're the first ones to modernize in Lanaris. To the south, we got the nation of Snowstania. Telling by the name, they are a cold country, and they are aligned with Farron. They even have an occupation zone with Farron. See, this is Farron, right? And then here it's just all occupation by both countries. Over here, it's just colonies of Axantol and Oranus. And then we got some occupation zones in the new continent Seploris. And that's basically it for the political map. Now we're going to move on to the climate map. So here, this is polar climate, this shade of blue. Here, this neon green is tundra, black is mountains. This dark shade of green is taiga. This normal green is plains. This leafy green is deciduous forests. The red is Mediterranean, and the purple is wetlands. And the yellow is desert, and this shade of green is tropical rainforest. So as you can see here, Seploris is all polar, obviously, because it's an extremely cold place. In Lanaris, the south is cold, but the north is more livable. The only reason why people even live here in the first place is because, just like in Iceland, there's like volcanic activity here, so that allows for heating, and well, people can live if there's heating. Over here, this area is extremely forested, and this is important later in the lore, as these two countries of Bacon and Yurkon will get invaded, and it will be like a guerrilla warfare type of thing. Here we got plains and wetlands, so you can see why the Morgan Empire is pretty powerful. They're the most powerful in the region, in the continent. This is Mediterranean. This is a bunch of mountains. Then we got some rivers here. Moving on, we got Anaris, the largest continent and have the most population. They have also the largest wetlands and the largest tropical rainforests in the world. They have also two very large rivers that feed millions of people, that make the livelihoods of millions. And here we got also a pretty large desert, some taiga and tundra. Just to let you know, this desert is a cold desert because it's so close to the Arctic. It's like the Gobi Desert. Here we got PRN, we got forests and agricultural areas. We got Mediterranean climates and mountains, a lot of them in the central area. And then we got huge wetlands and rivers. Then we got some forests, taiga, and lastly, tundra. Moving on to Bloodscrist. As you can see, there's a huge river chain here. These are actually three rivers. This one, and this one. These rivers used to be separated, but due to man's work, these rivers have canals now and they are connected to each other. So, as you can see, there are plains, forests, and wetlands. So, Farron is extremely powerful. That's what you can see why they're powerful. We got Mediterranean climate here in the Murajan area. And then Upper Scadia is right here. So as you can see, there's a bunch of mountains separating the two areas of Bloodscrist. And then actually there's mountain ranges. They turn Bloodscrist into three: to the west, the north, and the south. So these three are very culturally different. And then we got a huge plain right here. and some forests. And then another huge rivers, probably the largest Mediterranean area, another mountains, which are in Swaziland, and then uh, desert, wetland, desert. So that's the thing here. That's the climates. Third map is the religion map. Now, for the sake of simplicity, we're gonna be using real religions as placeholders. If the official LMG, if you're watching this video, if you want to make fictional religions, you can do that if you want. But here's the religions. So obviously, yellow Christianity, green Islam, and red Buddhism. Here it's Southeast Asian paganism, like Eskimo type of religion, and then Slavic paganism. So as you can see, colonialism really did a thing by like converting all these people to Christianity or whatever religion you want to call it. But due to the Blood Christians arriving in Annaris so late at the 1600s rather than the 1400s, um, the Anarines have more time to develop and integrate, like to become more centralized and modernized, and establish their own religion. So, as you can see, even in the political map, like they didn't conquer all of Anaris. Like it's basically like Asia, for example. Asia is modernized already when the Europeans came, so not all of Asia is colonized. And even so, many of these colonies here were actually protectorates rather than actual colonies. The only actual colonies are the Ferranese colonies and the Austrian colonies, and this small colony here belonging to Upper. Now, the fourth is the language map. Here, we're going to be using real languages for this one. The orange is Indo-European. The green is obviously Semitic languages. Here it's Uralic languages. Here it's Sino-Tibetan, Japanese, Korean, Arctic languages, and then Turkic languages, Austronesian languages, and Caucasian languages. So that's it. That's my huge lore drop that I added. I hope you all have the patience to watch this video. And I guess if you enjoyed me yapping, I guess you can like, subscribe, and all that. And that's it, guys. So bye.